Hello cross stitchers, Stacy here as always, and this is going to be a class on the Pattern Keeper app. This is just going to go through the Pattern Keeper app and all the options and what all the buttons do and all of that, but this video will not include any actual stitching. So the Pattern Keeper app is an app that will help you keep track in a time-efficient way for your patterns that are full coverage and all crosses. If you have a pattern that is not full coverage and not all crosses, in other words, it has some partial stitches, then the Pattern Keeper app is not the optimum app for you. Now, you can do a pattern on the Pattern Keeper app and then use the paper graph in order to do your back stitching on, but the Pattern Keeper app also will not do back stitching. So this is an example of a full coverage, all crosses pattern that you would get great benefits from using the Pattern Keeper app for whenever you're doing little areas that have a lot of confetti and a lot of color changes. Now, the Pattern Keeper app only goes on an Android device. It is not out yet for an iOS system, and so they say that they're working on it, but they've been working on it a long time, so I wouldn't count on that coming out anytime soon. What I have it on is a Fire Kindle, or a Amazon Kindle Fire, and this was a little bit of a task only because whenever you get a Kindle, it does not come automatically with the Google Play Store. Now, the app is only available on Google Play Store, which you can get on a Kindle, but you have to go through a bunch of steps in order to set up your Kindle to download the Google Play Store app, which will then be able to download the Pattern Keeper app. I would just Google how to get the Play Store on your device because I'm sure that it's changed and I don't even remember the steps that I had to go through in order to get it. So like I said, this is a Kindle Fire. I'm going to use a stylus because that seems to be easier on the app than my finger. My finger is fat. My stylus is not. Okay, let me go home. So the Pattern Keeper app will look like this. It looks like an X with some symbols in it. I'm going to click on that. It brings up your home screen. In order to add patterns, you will either go here for this little plus sign here, or you can go up here to the menu and open PDF. So whenever you go to that, it will bring up two options for you. Of course, the PDF file, which you will need to have downloaded on your device from your email where you bought the pattern. A lot of patterns on Etsy will tell you if it is compatible with the Pattern Keeper or if it is not compatible with the Pattern Keeper. All Heaven and Earth designs are compatible. Just make sure that it is compatible before you download and buy that PDF. Now, whenever you download the PDF onto your device, then you can upload it to the Pattern Keeper app. And it says also, you'll notice, camera experimental. And basically, it's very experimental. So it's kind of trying to warn you that this is not going to be the most accurate. If you were able to get a PDF instead of having to take a picture of a paper pattern, that would be better. Once you have uploaded your pattern, it will show up here, and it will show the very first page of that PDF. So I'm going to click on one. So what it does is it brings up the pattern that you have whenever you click on it. When you're in movement mode or action mode up here, this icon, you can move the pattern around and you can zoom in and there we go, and zoom out. You can zoom out all the way to where you see the entire picture. Below the pattern here, you have these 3 lines for a menu for that pattern. And you can open the chart, which is what I just did by clicking on it. You can view the PDF. Now this is going to be the actual PDF. If you were to print it out, it would look like this. And it will tell you the page number you're on up here in the top corner. See page 3, page 5, etc. You can view the mock-up, and that's going to show you the picture up close. You can view that. You can scroll in, and zoom out to where you're seeing the whole thing. And you can edit the color legend. So now it shows you the mock-up. If you prefer to see the PDF instead over here, you can click that and it'll show you the PDF instead. You can view the mock-up. Over here, you have your color legend, which is going to show you the color that it will make your stitches, the number for the DMC, the symbol that it uses, and if you'd like to change any part of that, let's say instead of 165, you're going to use, I don't know, 164. This is the symbol for that color on the chart. You can change the number there to 164 or whatever number you want to use. You can change your thread type, DMC, Anchor, Sullivan, etc. We're going to stick with DMC. And if you like to do a mixture of colors, you can click that symbol there and put in a second color to go along with your mixture. If you download something that is not compatible with the Pattern Keeper, you can go in there, like this one for instance. You can go in there and enter what each symbol number is, and it'll put in a color for that DMC number. But I can tell you from experience that the Pattern Keeper app will recognize 2, sometimes 3 symbols as the same symbol. So it will only put one color with these 2 separate symbols, and there is no way for you to be able to separate them. So you would really have to be careful and watch what you are doing in order to make sure that you don't accidentally stitch the same color for what was supposed to have been 2 different colors. Okay, so that is basically your home page there. We're going to click on a pattern and show you what your page is that you're going to be looking at while you're stitching and what all of your options are. There's a lot of options. Don't get overwhelmed. You can use the Pattern Keeper app without changing options and making shortcuts and all of that. It's just so that it is more personalized towards your needs if you were to want to change a bunch of things. It will show your pattern here, and as I showed before, in this mode you can scroll out and scroll in. It will show your page breaks in your pattern with an orange line. On your settings, let's get in really close. On your settings, you can, which is right here, you can make it, oh, go away. You can make it to where it does not show page breaks, or if you do want it to show page breaks, you can change the color of the page breaks. And if you wanted more options than this, you can go to custom and have the whole lot of colors in the whole spectrum of the entire universe at your fingertips here. I'll go back. So that's your page breaks, and that is how to operate in this icon, this mode, the movement. Over here on this side, you're going to have your legend. Now we're going to go over to the search symbol, and we're going to click on a number over here. It will highlight all of that symbol, and it will show up in green. Anything that is a color on here, you can change it to be a different color if you want. And you can also, while you're on this mode, you can click on the actual symbol here and it will change it over here. So click on that, changes it down here, 825, 311, 312, etc., etc. Now you can scroll down to other numbers because we all know that there's a lot of colors. So if you click on it over here and it doesn't highlight anything in your screen, it's just because there are none of that color on what you have your screen set on. If I were to scroll out, there it is. You can see it there. I'm going to go back to my search mode and click on something there. Now in the search mode, your options are come on. Okay, so search color. Here you saw that it was green. You can change any color to whatever you want it to be. Okay. You have an option for shortcuts. So in move mode, which is what we were on when we're zooming in and out, if you want to double click on a stitch, you can make it to where it doesn't do anything, or you can make it to where it searches that symbol that you just double clicked on. So we'll change that. We'll make it search. And then in markup mode, which is what I'm about to show you. So this is markup mode. And what it basically does is it's going to highlight whatever stitches you click on. So let's say we did these 4 stitches. Now, if you wanted to try to highlight a stitch that's not in your search, like that one, it's not going to do it. So it's best to have the ones you're working with searched and in green, and then you can highlight them. And let's say that oops, we didn't mean to highlight that. Let's clear it out. Clear, and it goes away. And we can highlight the ones that we did want. Let's say that we completed those stitches. So we're going to click this little check mark there, and it will show that they are completed. If you did, let's say, all of the stitches in this square, this 10 by 10 square, you're going to click and hold. It will bring up two options. You can select the unfinished stitches in the square, or you can select the unfinished stitches on the entire page. We're going to select the ones in the square, and you see how now it has a selection of every single one that was color 311 in that square. Let's say we also did this square. We're going to click and hold. Okay, and now let's say that we completed all of those. Check. And now it will show them as completed. Let's say, though, that we did not do this one here. So we're going to highlight it. And now it will bring up the little frog for rip it, rip it, rip it. And take it out. Click the frog. Yep, that one is not completed now. And then another option, whenever you have only one square selected, you can go down here to more, and it will give you options for parking your thread in that square. I always park mine in the lower left corner, so let's go ahead and do that. And now it will have a triangle pointing at the lower left corner where my parked thread is. Okay, now let's say that we go to a different, you remember that we had in move mode, if we double click a symbol, it'll highlight it. So let's do that. Okay, so now we're looking at all the ones that are 312. And what we're going to do, let's say that we're going to go back to the highlighter there, the markup mode. And let's say that we did all of these. I didn't do all the ones in the square, and I didn't do just that one, and that one. Let's say that I did all of these. So I'm just going to click and drag. Now, as you see, get rid of that. Get rid of those. As you see, I'm going over more than like I was going over these, but it won't highlight those because they're not selected. It'll only highlight the ones that are in green from your selection. Let's say I did those. And let's say I parked my thread here. More, park in lower left corner. And now we have a triangle pointing there. Now, as a shortcut in this mode, I feel like it is very user-friendly to be able to make a shortcut where when we double click on that stitch, I want it to park it. So we're going to park it in the lower left corner because that's always where I park mine. And let's say that when we select, let's say 9 stitches, and we double click on that selection, we want it to finish them. So we're going to finish. So there's some shortcuts for double clicking for you that'll make things a little bit faster. So now we have those options. I'm going to select these two, and whenever I double click them, it's going to finish them. There we go. And let's say that whenever I double click one stitch, and remember we're in markup mode, whenever I double click this stitch, it's going to park it. Just like that. All right, also in settings, we have where you can change your whole screen to be dark, light or dark. I'll show you what the dark looks like, but to me, it's not as aesthetically pleasing. I don't know, it just isn't. So I'm going to change that back to be light. Use translucent colors. That way when you have completed a stitch, it will show the symbol through that completed stitch. Otherwise, it will just show the color that that stitch is without the symbol. But I do like it to show the symbol through. And then use a flat color. If you were to select this, then all of your completed stitches will be whatever color you choose here, which they have default set at gray. I'll show you what that looks like. So now you see how before we had the two colors of blue with the U-turn symbol and the circle with the target. It was two different colors of blue. Now it's going to do everything that you have completed this gray color, which again, I get why they do that, but why not have all the pretty colors? We're going to uncheck that because we want to see all of our pretty colors that we have done. Show search highlight on finished stitches. I have that checked. What that means is whenever I highlight this symbol, it's going to also highlight the ones that I have already done. Parking color you can change. As you saw, it was making it blue, but you can change it to whatever you want. If you're doing a bunch of blue stitches, you might want to change it to a red or something that's really contrasting so that way you can see it more. It pops more off of the page. And then selection color, that's when we were in markup mode and I had selected 3 stitches. It outlines them in this purple color. You can change that as well. And center mark, you can show the center of the stitched area or the center of the whole grid, or don't show any mark at all. See the arrows? That's the center point. And this dot right here, that's the center point. So there's the center of your pattern right there. Now, for people that are doing parking on the diagonal, you can do your diagonal lines here. And we're going to do upper left to lower right, or upper right to lower left, basically. Most people do it this direction, so we're going to do that. Upper right, lower left. You can change the spacing between them to be either 10 or 20 stitches. And you can change the color there again to whatever you'd like it to be. So now we have these diagonal lines going through our pattern to where if you were stitching and parking on the diagonal, you could very clearly see the area that you're working in. It's a nice feature. Okay, the last thing on your options as far as your settings on the pattern is over here on this side, there are some statistics. It has a daily stitch count for you, and you can set the time to be either midnight or 4 o'clock in the morning. If you're like me, sometimes you end up stitching past midnight, but you don't want that to count for the next day. You want it to still count for today, even though you stitch until 1 a.m. So I have it set on 4 in the morning. And you can show your daily progress or not. And you can show your total progress or not. Let me show you what that looks like. So today, what we have completed in here is 71 stitches. And that's what we've stitched today. It tells you the total number of stitches right here and the percentage of how much you have done of the entire pattern. So we stitched 71 stitches during this tutorial out of 83,000 and something, and that was 0.09%, almost 0.1% of the entire pattern. Zoom out to where you can see the entire thing. If you had it set to where you had a flat color be all of your finished stitches, then that color would cut once you got into, let's say you stitched half of it, this top half. Once you zoom out, all you're going to see in this whole top half is a gray color, or whatever color you choose to make it. So that's why I like to keep it these colors beside the symbol, because when you complete a stitch of these colors and then you go in there and you zoom out, you're going to see your picture. It'll look just like you're stitching. I'm just going to frog all these stitches because I didn't actually do them. We just had a tutorial about it. So I'm going to go to markup mode, select all finished stitches in square. Oh, sorry. Got to select that color first. Select all finished stitches in square. And we're going to frog them. Same thing with these. Markup mode. Select all finished stitches in square. Frog. And then I'm also going to take off these parked stitches here. And I can do that by double clicking, because we made that one of our shortcuts. Alright, and you can see over here, now it says 0 stitch today, 0% complete. The Pattern Keeper app is a free app for a month so that you can try it out and just make sure that you like it. It is a huge time saver as compared to using paper and highlighters and your own eyes and not having anything that you're able to select and have pop out right at you automatically. So it definitely is worth the headache if you have a Kindle Fire, and it definitely is worth the about $10 in order to keep the app after the month trial period. So this is a more advanced thing, only because you would not be stitching a pattern this large unless you were an advanced stitcher. And I wish you all the stitching fun and all the luck on your cross stitch projects. And as usual, if you would like to subscribe to my channel, you can subscribe below this video here, and you can ring that little bell and be notified of when I post videos, which isn't too very often. If you're not this advanced yet and you want some more simple classes, I have that as well. There's a playlist on my profile called Cross Stitch Classes, and it goes from your very first cross stitch and how to do it to kitting up a cross stitch, colors and threads and all of that, floss, and organization and all kinds of things. So go on there and take a look at that if you would like to learn some more basic cross-stitch ideas and classes. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.